Yes, ladies and gentlemen, it is indeed once again Friday night on the bus. And of course, you know what that means. I know what that means. William knows what that means. Liz Donnelly knows what that means. Monty knows what that means. 420 somewhere, they know what that means as well. Jim Dolan, they all know. It's time to get that Friday feeling on the bus. I understand it's been getting harder and harder every week to get that Friday feeling, but don't worry. We are here, as always, to try and lift the spirits ahead of another weekend of action for Celtic. But it's not league action this week. It's the Scottish Cup's back on the table. We'll be asking the question, do you really care about it at this stage, given what's been going on in the league campaign? Is this game a distraction? Is it actually what we need right now after what happened last week? Are you just eager to just get back into the league action after the debacle at Tynecastle, shall we say, last week? We'll be talking all about that, as well as some transfer news. Yes, transfers out. The transfer window's closed, for us anyway. But yeah, we can still transfer players out because 2 players are gone this week. We'll be talking about their departures, Abada and Bernabei. And yes, of course, we'll be talking about suspensions towards our manager, a hearing coming for our manager down the road, disciplinary, a wee slap on the wrists. Brendan Rodgers, obviously, he spoke out last week after the defeat at Tynecastle. So we'll be talking about that tonight, getting our say on it, because I want to say the dust is settled, but if you go on social media, there's still a lot of storms getting kicked up over what happened last Sunday, Liam. But don't worry, we're here as always. But Liam, wise man of the bus, we're going to need your wise words tonight. How are you doing, sir?
Oh, just trying to make sense of this week. You look at all the crazy shit that's going on in the world, and Celtic can still ramp it up and be that wee bit crazier. Just grab your attention. It's like, Christ, it's non-stop. And much it's even football. But I don't know. It's interesting. I think a lot of stuff's coming to a head. Right now, find out a lot about our boardroom this week as well. Because we've got a fight on our hands, and this isn't against agents and stuff. This is the SFA, and we've got to figure out, all right, have we got the balls for this? Are these our guys? I don't think so. So I'm interested to get into the discussion. Let's unravel this. Get the bus going, Phil.
Indeed we shall. But before we do that, of course, folks, just remind you all again to do all that good stuff, the things that helps us out on the channel, helps out algorithm, CSC, hit that like button. Or if you don't like it, you can hit the dislike button. Doesn't really matter because YouTube will promote the channel anyway, as long as there's interaction. So there you go. Get involved in our comment section tonight, as many of you are already doing. Of course, you can subscribe. If you haven't done so already, you want to keep the bus in your life that a little bit longer, hit the subscribe button and hit that bell notification. You'll be reminded when we are on the road. There's plenty of times in the week that we are. And of course, you can share the links of the Bhoys Bus far and wide on whatever social media platform is your poison. And of course, head over to piesports.com and let them know that the bus sent you on your merry way. Use the code BUS1888 and get 12.5% off your tasty pastry treats. And with all that said and done, let's get into it. So, I guess we'll start with some transfer news then, Liam, before we look at the game. Because I say it's Sunday, we're playing 2:30, I want to say it is. I believe that's the kickoff time. Cheers for that via play. We have got some transfer news to talk about. Some players have headed out. A guy that we've spoke about a few times in recent weeks on the bus, Abada. The saga is over. He has transferred to the MLS. One of the only markets that are open. He put a heartfelt goodbye to the Celtic fans on his social media today on Instagram. But yes, I read over it there just before we came on. And as for us, obviously these stories were rumbling on. And this has been going on since about October time, when he turned up on his crutches with his agent the day after. The Green Brigade had unfurled the banner on October the 7th against Kilmarnock. We played at home. He turned up the next day with his agent, so he was out for quite a while with an injury. So there was no smoke without fire. It was like, what's he there for? Obviously, must have had some kind of talks with the club. But we got the impression that all was fine and, he would come back and it would be okay, because he did come back on. He obviously made his return against Rangers just before the turn of the year. Despite what some media outlets and fans of other clubs are saying, he wasn't booed in any way or jeered. He was welcomed back with rapturous applause, because I was there in the stadium. I remember people can post the clips all over Twitter. It's there. He was definitely not, there was definitely no disdain towards him. And his performances since then looked like a guy whose heart wasn't in it. the thing that I'm most disappointed in is, this didn't obviously, this decision for him to leave didn't come overnight. We had the January window there. We could have easily moved him on there because, he sat through the entire January window and allowed that to pass when bigger, more attractive markets were opened. So he himself could have got a better move. Yes, I understand that there's a lot of teams in the MLS that would probably beat many of the teams in the Scottish Premiership. There's no doubt about it. And I know that Lionel Messi has brought a lot of eyes to the MLS in the last year since he's moved out there. But from Abada's point of view, I don't think this is the step that he saw his career going next. I think the way his trajectory was going, Liam, he was thinking, I'm on a good upward trajectory at Celtic. My next move is going to be maybe the English Premier League or maybe one of the other big leagues in Europe, something like that. But yeah, it ends up because the transfer window's closed. It's also put us in a position where we couldn't really get a replacement in. But then again, with the way the board has performed and recruitment has performed, would you have trusted them to get a replacement in if he'd left before the end of the January transfer window? But yeah, he has gone to Charlotte FC in the MLS. He has gone. I read his goodbye message today. And yeah, obviously thanked the Celtic fans. He says he hopes he gave us lots of good memories. And he certainly did. I mean, especially performances against Rangers. He'll always be remembered for how he terrorised one Borna Barisic, back post Barisic, the way that Abada could ghost in and be completely undetected. He scored a fair few goals against them by doing that exact move. But yeah, Liam, the saga is indeed over. But yeah, we're now on his day, a very useful player to us, but his heart clearly wasn't in it. But yeah, in the end, we are the ones that have suffered from this because transfer window's closed. We already had quite a depleted squad as it was. And yeah, we've now lost Abada. So how are you feeling about it, Liam?
I'm just glad it's over and it's resolved. I don't think we got cheated like we did with Juranovic or Giacomakis. I mean, as far as getting a fair return for these players, I think we sold them we were too cheap. So I think what we got back for him based on his performance in the last year or so, I think that's really good money. I think if he needs to get out of the city and he feels that's what he needs to do, go do it. The MLS, he might tear it up there, or he might just disappear like a lot of even better players than him coming in have. There's a lot of players that come in from South America, Honduras, Jamaica. There's a lot of the CONCACAF teams play in that league, and they're all hungry for a move to Europe. So if he goes there and he just shows up and he'll get noticed playing there, he's going to have to play his arse off. And Charlotte's one of the new teams as well, so who knows what they might be the whipping boys as well, and that might not sit with him either. And then there's also Charlotte, North Carolina, South Carolina. I don't know much about it, but it's one of the biggest cities in the in the US. It's no New York or LA or Miami where Messi is. It's a bit more sleepy, and so I don't know how much a fan base they'll have there. And as far as I know, it's like football and basketball and baseball and that. There, the football is as good as it is in some of the other cities, like here in Vancouver or Toronto, New York, and that. Yeah, I think it worked out well for everybody all right. And don't want to get into all the other whys and whats and all that. Only thing is, I was disappointed that he laid down tools. We were crying out the last few games. And if you know you're off and all that, like, why not try and even play yourself into a better position yourself personally? And I think that was bad guidance. And I think, let's never deal with that agent again either, because I think crutches, as you said it. No, I mean, that guy should be, it's kind of be one of these relationships like Dadu where we go back and forward all the time, and he keeps bringing his players and all that. He let us down there with the mentality, and you count on them for that stuff. They're the agents, And so if they're telling you and they're telling you to get away, that's bad form as well.
That is indeed. Thank you, Smell the God, for pointing that out. Yes, Four Horsemen, Ric Flair country, Charlotte, North Carolina. Yes, indeed. Nature boy. But yeah, Abada says off there now to Charlotte. They are one of the new teams, so you're spot on. What's a fan base going to be like? The way the MLS is or the way American sports is. New teams just pop up like plants over there. They just appear. So yeah, so fair play to him. But yeah, he's now moved on. He's now a former Celtic player. So yes, thanks for the memories, Leo. And yeah, that's it. He's off he goes. Celtic have managed to. It's amazing how proactive they can be when the window's actually closed and getting players out the door. But yeah, I say it's left us in a position where we're now a winger down who can be very useful. But if his heart wasn't in it, it clearly wasn't, then he's no good to us. So it's best for all concerned that he heads off to pastures new. And speaking of somebody else who's headed off to pastures new, which now means, Liam, that we have one fit, registered first team left back in the squad for the rest of the season, and that would be Gregory Taylor, because Alessandro Bernabei is off to Brazil to SC Internacional. He's signed for. Poor them, I suppose, would be the thing I would say, because my God, it blows my mind that he is the most expensive left back in Celtic history. $3.75 million we spent on him, and yeah, he was. I was wanting to give him the benefit of the doubt for so long. But I remember Mark on this show very, very early on, just after a few of the pre-season friendlies he played at the start of last season. Mark was calling him a raffle winner, which we all got a bit of a chuckle out of, and we're like, oh, come on, Mark. It's just Mark being Mark. But no, fair play. As the time went on, you were bound again to go, he does seem a bit like a raffle winner, to be fair, because, again, how often can we say it? He just didn't seem like a defender. He just felt like this is a guy who has been a midfielder in the younger part of his career, and somewhere along the line he's moved back the way and he's decided to try and be a defender, a left back, because his defensive awareness was lacking. And yeah, I would say attacking was probably more his thing, but hey, we're calling it for wingers as well, and there's a guy who's definitely more attack minded and defense minded. But yeah, there was some weird moments with him, especially like if you want to look at, I think the first real indication that this guy was on a sugary peg quite early on was start of 2023. We went to Ibrox. Obviously, it was the Michael Beale revolution at Ibrox, where they were winning game after game, and we went there. And we ended up drawing 2-2. But do you remember, obviously, that's when Greg Taylor went off injured. Bernabei was on the bench. Ange Postecoglou turns to his bench. He's got a left back sitting there, and he goes, "You, Josip Juranovic, you're going on, and you're not even a left back." And I think that was an indication, and that's only a few months after he's joined, essentially, where you're like, that's not a ringing endorsement from the manager. And yeah, as time has went on, I mean, we had the really weird instance earlier this season, just back in December, when we got beat by Hearts at Celtic Park. And Bernabei had not been in a matchday squad for months at this point, and he appeared on the bench that day. We're 2-0 down to Hearts at Celtic Park. We're struggling. This is the day when Santa Claus got booed at half-time. That's how bad it got. And we were half an hour to go. Brendan Rodgers is turning to him and going, "You're going on," and putting him on as a winger, as a forward. And it was like, wow, that is desperate times call for desperate measures. And yeah, he just never really got to grips with it at all here. And yeah, off he goes. But yeah, now puts us in a position, Liam, where if Greg Taylor gets suspended or injured, Anthony Ralston plays at left back, I'm going to guess. That would be my best guess of what happens from now to the end of the season. Because as it stands right now, again, with this depleted squad that we've got, yeah, we're now down a left back as well. So, God, we're really putting ourselves in quite a position here.
Just shows that we actually are living in the metaverse when your best left back is also your worst left back in the club as well. Greg Taylor right there just seems to be there because there's nobody else recognising. I think we're at a disadvantage playing him. I thought he was the worst player in the park last week. Surprise, surprise. When we were looking for leadership, every time that ball went to him, he went to the touchline, and when he couldn't get by a guy, he lost it. And then if not that, then it was like the 10-yard pass looking for McGregor, who wasn't there, and then putting everybody else behind him in trouble. I think we need to look at it. I think Rodgers needs to put on the big boy pants and just say, listen, you might have to make a decision because we're still getting targeted there. It's still a weak link. It doesn't matter that Bernabei's gone. It's still the weakest area of the park for us when we concede goals. Even the goal that they scored as well. As soon as Shanklin got that ball, or I can't remember who it was, but Greg Taylor was on his arse. There's nobody near him. He just fell back in his arse. So I think we need to address that position, and I don't think Greg Taylor's the answer. I'd like to see if we play, like just moving ahead to talk about Livy for a sec, this weekend, I wouldn't mind seeing Ralston coming in and replacing him, because what I've seen in Ralston so far, he's got the power to deal with some of these players. He's going to win more balls in the airs. He's going to do better for us defensively. And it's not like we really count on Greg Taylor to get the offense going, because, you know, other than a couple of half decent balls into the box that we've scored for right enough, that's maybe two in I don't know how many games, you know, and it's twice, you know, and we've done well converting them, but he's certainly not brought that into his game as a common pace. Bernabei, when I first saw him, I thought he had everything that we needed. I watched his highlight reel, and when we talked on the bus way back then, I thought we'd go, okay, well, you know, we're still on the trust Ange honeymoon phase at that point, or, you know, godlike status, oh, he can spot a player. And in his highlight reel, what I liked was the way he ran at the midfield, he ran at defenders with the ball. And he's done that. He did that a lot this year. I don't agree with Mark that he's the worst player we've ever signed.
I'd agree there in terms of, there's definitely been worse, definitely.
But do I think he was given a fair shot? Yeah, I think we've seen enough of him to form an opinion that he wasn't good enough for Celtic. But I have that same opinion with Greg Taylor as well, and I don't see how one should elevate the other. I think we need to be fixing that position now in the summer. If we want to win games, we need to fix that position now and figure out, okay, Rogers, what are you going to do here? Because that's the sugar peg, you know, and for all the leadership qualities and all that we hear about, I don't see it. I didn't see it. Didn't see it last week against Hearts. And that's a position. I think you fix that, I think some of the other positions will fix it as well. Because a lot of times you've seen guys looking around, there's no left back there. Where is he? You know, and there was a amount of time you see everybody's drifting towards that side. And that's why we're getting so much joy when they come down the other wing, when they switch it. You know, he's moved over to compensate for Greg, because he doesn't mark anybody. Anyway, that's my weekly rant, you know.
Well, Joe Henry says we can't get rid of Greg Taylor. We need Liam moaning about him. It's brilliant. So there you go. You know, cult following with that one. Yeah, the weekly moan about Greg Taylor. It's bus tradition now. It's bus heritage. We have to point out. But keep in mind, folks. Keep in mind, for if you're still quite new to the bus, Liam has been calling about Greg Taylor for going back into Ange Postecoglou's time as manager. He was flagging it up and saying, this guy is going to cause us problems. And but at the time it was like, oh no, Greg Taylor, he's played so well under Ange, but wow, he's just he's reverted back to the Greg Taylor before Ange essentially, because he was going nowhere under him. So that's the key then. Ange Postecoglou was the key all along, because he definitely found the best. But that's where I just get baffled, where I'm like, well, we've seen what you can do. Why did Brendan Rodgers, who claims, remember, that he was watching all Celtics games the whole time he was away? Aye, all right, Brendan, no bother, mate. Why did he just say to Greg Taylor, see what you were doing last season under Ange? Do that. Just do that, essentially. Because he's shown that he's quite useful. But for whatever reason, Brendan Rodgers, he wants him to play a certain way. And it ain't working right now. But we are one left back from now to the end of the season. And if somebody gets injured, if he gets injured, then well, that could be interesting. Maybe Mitchell Frame will finally get a start. Who knows? Or maybe the much talked about, what we try to will into existence, will Liam Scales find his way to left back? Who knows? Let's hope we don't have to cross that bridge, though, because right now we can't be doing any more long-term injuries. We really can't. We're a wounded team just now. But of course, let's talk about the fallout from the Hearts game. I know we're a good week on, but as I say, if you go on social media right now, it's still rumbling on, Liam, and you and I have not had any sort of say on it. And obviously the big overarching story coming out of it is Brendan Rodgers' words after the game. He was obviously very much to the point. He named John Beaton as well. Not the first time that when Brendan Rodgers been in charge of a Celtic team that John Beaton has been at the centre of problems. There was a infamous game at Ibrox that we lost when Ryan Jack scored, where Alfredo Morelos had the freedom of Glasgow that day to do all sorts of stuff, like standing on Anthony Ralston's back and stuff like that when Ralston was down. And yeah, he got away with a lot of stuff that day. But he obviously named him after the game. And the first thing I need to say about it is, this is something that I've said a few times on the channel, going back to when VAR first came in. And I was worried that a day like this would come, because one of the things I said, as things were starting to go on, remember we were getting hit with a lot of very strange handball decisions, particularly in the early parts of VAR. Hey, you could argue that we're still getting hit with them if you look at last week. But these games we were still winning. And I said at the time, I said, what we should be doing, even though we're winning these games, the club should be seeking some sort of answers, just a statement, whatever, something out in the public domain that even though we've won this game, the club are seeking some sort of like clarification from the SFA on the handball rule and whatnot. There's games against the very first VAR game in Scotland, the one that we played on the Sunday against Hearts. I think the first game was actually midweek. There was a midweek game before it, but we played Hearts. We beat them 4-3. And there was a very infamous moment where Michael Smith, the Hearts defender, clearly handballed it when James Forrest tried to flick it past him. And again, you can tell a lot by a player's reaction when they've done something wrong. Michael Smith instantly pulls his hand away and he's got a look on his face like, oh shit, I've fucked up here. Like he knows he's in trouble. Nick Walsh did a review for all of 10 seconds, didn't go to the screen. He just put his finger to his earpiece and went, no, that's fine, play on. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, obviously we went on to win the game, but it's like, surely we should have been asking, like, what's that all about? I remember the Monday after that, I watched Sky Sports News to see what Ref Watch said. The Gallagher, who goes on Sky Sports News, he looks at the big refereeing decisions of the weekend across the UK, and he'll give his opinion on it as a former ref. So they got to that one. I was really intrigued to hear what an outsider from Scottish football would say. And all he kind of said was he just sort of shrugged his shoulders and went, I know that the handball interpretation is different up in Scotland. I'm like, it's the same rules. We're playing the same game as England, France, Germany. We're all playing the same game here. So why in Scotland is it different interpretation? You then had a few weeks later, we played Dundee United at Celtic Park. Bernabei gets hit with a strange handball decision where he goes up for a header. He misses it. A Dundee United player hits a shot and he hits him in the back and his arm is down there and it hits him in the back and it was given as a penalty. And then a few weeks after that, we played Ross County, another game that we won where Matt O'Reilly got punished for a weird handball where he was standing like less than a yard away from it. The player tried to flick the ball up and it sort of hit his arm there. Again, it's like, what's he meant to do there? But these are all games that we won, and it's like we should have said something then and there and made it clear that we're seeking clarification, because my worry was a day will come where we will not get away with it. We will drop points in some capacity. VAR will be in some sort of controversial way involved, and then we'll say something publicly. Then we'll make a song and dance out of it. And it'll just get dismissed as we're being bitter, sour grapes. It'll just get thrown aside. And here we are, Liam. Here we are now in this exact position. And it's like, man, not that I think it really would have helped. I mean, that's just how I would have done it personally. But they probably still would have dismissed it, even if we had been moaning for the last 18 months when we were winning games as well. But yeah, it's kind of like, it does come across to outsiders looking in. Okay, so just kicking up a fuss because she's lost. So if we'd said stuff when we were winning the games, maybe it could be interpreted different.
Well, I mean, that's why I stick on Greg Taylor. I don't want to seem like I'm jumping on a bandwagon there. It's funny how, so I've seen all sorts of people this week put together cases as video cases. I've seen stuff as far back as when I was on like Celtic Minded or the Huddle Board and stuff, where people were compiling referee decisions that went against us that were like just so out of the realm that could only ever be described as cheating or incompetence. And I think that's the thing we've got to look at as well. So if it's not incompetence and that's not the right, well, what is it then? Because obviously there's a discrepancy there that can be proven because we've got all the footage of it now. And we know somewhere there's the transcripts of the audio and all that, unless they conveniently lose it or erase it, or we just take the tapes. Things like you hear in conspiracy theories and all that, but actually could probably end up happening, being a way to just get them out of this. It's funny, when you look at being noisy and bringing this up, I remember the first day Gerrard came to take over Rangers, he had that, I remember having that same moment when you were watching Kanye and Mike Myers on that thing in one of the disaster relief things where Kanye just out of nowhere spit the tea out moment, George Bush hates black people. I'm watching Gerrard's press conferences, and as everybody knows, there's been a great, a history of injustice for referees or decisions that have went against Rangers, and that was my spit the tea out. I go, what are you talking about? You've been up here 5 minutes, and you're saying that it's like that seems to be a thing that everybody's talking about. But it is what people talk about because Rangers talk about it. We don't. Well, we talk about it amongst ourselves and we want our voice to be heard, but it never translates over from the board or the managers as well. I thought Ange was very, you know, there was times where he could have come out as well. I mean, there was times where Anthony Ralston was getting assaulted on the pitch. Some of the tackles that were flying into him. Oh, but he's a big bricky and, you know, be able to handle it. You know, and referees just turning a blind eye to it. The amount of handballs that was put together, somebody put one of the yes and no type things. This is a handball, not a handball. And, you know, in the compilation, it was just comical and it pointed at incompetence. So if it's no incompetence, what are you supposed to say? He's cheating. Okay. Well, I think there's a time right now where we have to just go in absolutely loaded and stick to our guns. And the fact that they're making noise and, you know, talking about all this as soon as Celtic speak up, when Philip Clements came out and spoke about refereeing, you know, they get their board to talk about it, so they kind of get sanctioned in a way a manager can. You know, we should have had Mike Nicholson coming out after that game and saying that that was the case, that it might be incompetence, because then you don't lose Brendan for the dugout, you know. So I don't know, I think we have to go in guns blazing in this one and just stick to our guns and then let them take it as far as they want, because the more they take it, the more that they're going to have to dispute this either in a court of law or take this bigger or whatever. But it's going to pull the curtain back and you're going to see how it's worked. So a court of law will have to see the evidence. They'll have to look at the tapes. They'll have to hear what was said. And they're shit scared of that sort of thing. So just like Rangers and the sponsorship stuff and Rangers coming out and asking for referees not to do their games, let's see if this one just sort of conveniently disappears so that the SFA don't have to come out and be accountable and have some sort of transparency of that. Because I think that's what we have to lead to. We have to lead, and that means our board as well too. We know they don't like it. They don't like a fight. They don't like any light shine on them unless it's like backslapping at the the investment parties or Davos or whatever it is to go to. So I think we just got to stick to our guns in this one. I can go for it. Go for it. Bring up as many instances as we can so that they have to address them all. And if we lose Rodgers for the season, well, I don't know. Is that a bad thing right now?
Something in the comments said that might be a blessing in disguise if he's not on the sidelines for the game at Ibrox, because the hearing is, I believe, before the Livingston League game at the end of March. It's just before that, and it could be a fine, a few games ban or whatever. But yeah, we'll find out in due course regarding that one. But as I say, obviously he said his piece last week, and obviously there was a red card for Yang as well. But at the same time, we were not very good on the day, let's be honest here. I have seen Celtic win games with 10 men before. I've seen them win at Ibrox with 10 men. I've seen them earlier this season win at Almond Vale with 10 men when Joe Hart got sent off. And it was a comprehensive win that day. And I know Livingston have been pretty rubbish this season, but Brendan Rodgers teams and plastic pitches don't go well together. So that result that day was a particularly good one for us because, as I say, we're usually turgid on them. So winning with 10 men, even when we went down to 10, it was like, right, fair enough, it is what it is, but we can definitely dig our way out of this. But it just didn't look like we had it. And when that penalty was obviously given and they scored, it was like, geez, man, it's going to be a long day. And obviously, the goal did get chopped off for Hearts just on half time. And at that point, you're just like, well, that's got to be at 10 big. But second half, there was just nothing, no fight at all. Being 2-0, and that's it. That's all you can do. And in fairness, as much as we were all kind of raging about it and, upset, it was like, I think Terry made a brilliant point on PMP where it's like, if you go back to last Friday before the weekend's results and were able to tell yourself, close of play on Sunday, will still be in the same position, 2 points behind. Would you have taken that? Yes, you would have, because in your head, you would be assuming, well, they must have beat Motherwell and we must have beat Hearts. So it means we came through with no damage done in that sense. But the one thing that has been damaged is we're now one less game. So it's like, I was saying this to my dad earlier on today, like, it feels like every week's going by now where we're still like, but if we win all our remaining games, we'll win the league. It's a bit like in the COVID season where it was like, but wait a minute, we've got these games in hand. If we win them, we'll be top of the league. And it just kept going by week after week, and things didn't get better. So it's like we're getting to that stage now in this season where we're having a stumble, but then we go, we're still in a position where if we win all the remaining games, we'll win the league. So you can only go for that for so long before that window will close in your face. So we're now at the point where it is really do or die. As I say at the top of the show, we've got a Scottish Cup game this weekend, and it's like, how are we all feeling about that? Or do we? I don't really ask the question. It sounds a bit harsh, but do we care that much? Right now, the league is the big one that we have to win. We have to make sure we get it done. So the Scottish Cup, or will it be something that we need at this point to maybe get, I want to say get some form back, but it feels like this season, Liam, every time Celtic seem to have turned a corner, they've got some form. Something bad is just around the corner, sadly. So yeah, we move on to it. So let's talk about this game then, Livingston. As I say, we've drawn the bottom of the league team, who have been, let's say, pretty brutal all season. Maybe this is finally the season we kept hit the Livingston from the Scottish Premiership. Fingers crossed. I can't stand seeing another David Martindale press conference where he's sitting there going, "Oh, woe always me, poor me. Oh, I've got no money to spend. Oh, we've got no fans. Oh," and it's like, mate, you've stayed up for how many seasons now? Like, Jesus Christ, man, like, stop playing the wee violin. Honestly, man, it's so hard to feel sorry for you. But yeah, he's obviously the opposition manager this week, but luckily it's not on their plastic pitch, which has always been a leveler for them. Despite them being pretty rubbish this season, it is always a worry when Celtic are playing on a plastic pitch for me. But yeah, Livingston at home, we couldn't really ask for a much better draw, really, could we, Liam?
I mean, all right, if you want a game where we can go out there and get the team again. Yeah, I thought we'd done that the week before, though, against Dundee. Yep. I thought that the team, okay, that's going to be the one that's going to regroup us, and they're going to start kicking on for here, find the back of the net, find each other with passes. The new guys have assimilated in, and all right, we'll put Ida up front. All right, we know we're looking for him. We know what he can do in the air and the ground and all that, but now we've not taken that on. I don't know. It's everything I've thought about this team this year. Every time I've talked about, well, this is an occasion for somebody to stand up or the team to stand up or that. As the game's winding down, I'm running out of ideas of how this next game is going to kick on our season. If we get beat, see if we get beat trying a new shape or something like we were doing it with Ange, where it's like, okay, well, you can see that once this clicks, this would actually be a really good system. I wouldn't mind if we lost that way, but fuck, it might be the only thing that we get, And then if Rangers lose their game, then that's favours for us to win a cup, right? We still might fucking flag that away as well, So I'm nowhere near as like enthusiastic about going to the games as what I was, last few years. It's like it's this point. There's that sense of doubt now, dependent on how the other team attacks us, because we're not very good at defending. And I think that's all we do in training is we just practice going forward, and nobody seems to be benefiting from whatever we're doing in training, not defensively or offensively right now. So this one for me is like it's a watch and see game. It's like I want to see how our team responds here and that, and what I'm looking today is I'm looking to be impressed by how our team responds, because sure as hell it's went the other way the last couple of games.
For a shadow of doubt, Stephen Murdoch here asking the $1 million question: which Celtic will turn up? And that is the worrying bit, because when Brendan's first tenure, even under Ange there, like for those couple of years, you had a consistency about us, and as Liam just alluded to there, you're excited about the football, you're excited about the game coming up. Now you just don't know what's going to happen. It is a worrying, a damning indictment that we're going into a game against bottom of the league Livingston in a cup game on Sunday, and generally like, I don't know what happened, but obviously let's look at the team then, and let's take a look at some of the possibilities. So the first question I've got for you, Liam, is from your point of view, if you were in Brendan's position, and I know my answer to this one, would you use this game as a chance to experiment with a new formation, or try some of the fringe players to give them some minutes in the legs? Because for me personally, no chances taken. because even if he loses this, and regardless of the attitude by many fans towards the Scottish Cup right now, is maybe it's not the priority, it's just going to heap even more pressure on him. He can't afford to be dropping out of this cup as well. So for me, it's like strongest team possible on Sunday. We don't have any midweek games coming up to worry about because shock horror, we're not in a European competition. So for me, Sunday, he goes for, strongest team that he can. It's not a case of, we'll give like 3 or 4 from the B team a start here, just to see what they've got. It's like, no. For me, it's like, it would be guys who are first team or in and around the first team at a push. What about yourself, Liam, with that one? No chances taken for you?
Well, I mean, the only chance I would take would be the left back position. The fact that we've only got one, I want to see who's going to fill in there. If he's still crap, So I wouldn't mind seeing Anthony Ralston starting at left back this weekend. If he's going to be the one that's deputing Greg Taylor, it would be a good idea to see what he can do, because you know what? That boy tries his hardest. I think that boy gives everything for the club. I think he's, and when I've seen him come on at left back, I think he's played well. So I'd like to see him change that up. As far as the forwards go, I'd like to see Kyogo come back in. I don't think we should be giving up on Kyogo right now because we found a guy that could take penalties and now he's penalties. So I'd rather get Kyogo on, because I thought when he came on against Hearts, he was the only one that was like gathering that ball and running at them. He was the only one that was looking dangerous, and he was the only one that was looking that he still felt in his head that we could maybe get something out of this game, because the rest of them surely didn't do that. So, based on that sort of display, I think everybody's position's up for grabs. Everybody in that team. If there's a better player that's showing it in training right now, and he's doing a lot better than, if Odin Holmes showing up for the ball, I think he might be a better shout than Bernardo. If well, I don't even know who we've got left now, right?
There's so many injuries. Well, one of the ones I would look at is maybe Nawrocki getting a game ahead of Liam Scales now, have Carter Vickers and Nawrocki together. I don't think that's too much a risky move. I don't think that's like, oh God, what's he doing playing a B team player? I think Nawrocki is a fair shout. I mean, after last week, I don't know, even just after last week, there has been a lot of noise on social media about the Liam Scales experiment is over. I've seen many people, but last week apparently was, for many people, the straw that broke the camel's back, essentially. But cup gaming is Livy at home. I don't think Nawrocki is too much of a departure from, he's taking a massive chance by doing that. I do think this guy needs to get some minutes in the legs, so I would go with that, the centre back pairing.
I agree with you there. I mean, even Lagerbielke point as well too. I think Scales has had a really, really good run. Or if you don't see Ralston at left back, okay, well let's put Liam Scales here and see what he can do as well. Can she make that position stronger, and we can get even more stronger in the back with Lagerbielke? I mean, it would certainly cancel out any aerial threat from St Johnstone. Livingston with Johnson, Nawrocki, Carter Vickers, and Scales at the back there. Okay, that's a pretty decent defence there. I think we got a bit more. Was it Roger said he wanted to have more power? Well, I see that more power. Okay, so and maybe that does keep Liam Scales. See if he can. I mean, the last time we played left back, I thought he played brilliant for us. He scored an absolute screamer. Not to say that he can do that every game, but I don't see what the hesitancy is to play him, considering that the option that's there right now is not exactly ripping up the turf. There's mixed fan opinion on him, everybody. So I think that could help us right away. And then the rest of it, the midfield is like, okay, Iwata, he didn't have a great game. He got caught, found on the ball. Okay, but that's 2 mistakes, right? That's fixed. That's not like having lack of spatial awareness or no seeing balls and all. I think most of the times he's played pretty good with us. And I think that was the fact that everybody was playing bad in that game. So I wouldn't mind seeing him starting. O'Reilly, yeah, this might be the game to get him out of his funk, but he just doesn't seem to be clicking either. I'd like to see Odin Holmes come back into the team, but honestly, we're just throwing stuff at a dartboard now. It's like everybody that comes into this team, nobody's really want to claim a jersey. The only one I think it tries when it really hard and looks the part is Anthony Ralston when he comes on. He's the only one that looks like he's out there trying to earn a place in the team, and yet the fans are so fickle with him. I don't get it. It's the other side.
Yeah, it's just with the.
So,
But you're bringing up Iwata there, that's interesting, because for weeks on end, people were calling out for Iwata. Even when he gets subbed off at Motherwell and Brendan Rodgers highlighted, he was like, I got booed for taking him off, because fans were calling for him to get a start. He was playing all right that day, but yeah, last week he was one of the many who were very, very below par. It was a very, very bad day for us. We just weren't at it at all. And yeah, he obviously was caught dwelling on the ball at one point as well. So, yeah, it wasn't the best of days. But say at the moment right now with the options, you are right. We are kind of just throwing a dartboard essentially and seeing what sticks. Because here we are heading into the run-in for the season. The nitty-gritty. 9 league games to go, Scottish Cup quarter-final. And realistically, does Brendan Rodgers genuinely know what his best 11 is right now? One of my biggest concerns when Ange was doing what he was doing, winning stuff and, playing well, and the team he was building, one of the concerns I had when I looked at the team he was putting together, I was like, this feels like a very niche team, like specifically built for a manager like him. If he leaves, the next appointment has to be bang on, because I think we've seen it with the way Brendan's just not managed to get any consistency with this team. Whatever he's trying isn't working. And yeah, he just seems very unwilling to just basically say to them, whatever you were doing last season, do that. Obviously, we have lost a few key players. We can't rule out that. Starfelt obviously leaving, Jota. These types of guys, obviously last season as well, midway through, we sold Juranovic, we sold Giacomakis, who were obviously very valuable squad players as well, in the first team. And yeah, some of the replacements have come in, but man, we've talked about the transfer recruitment from till we're blue in the face, essentially. And I'm sure in the summer we'll be doing that again, because yeah, it looks like after last week's news about Mark Lowell resigning or put on gardening leave, whatever he's done, yeah, we're going to have some change there. But again, my stance has not changed regarding that last week when I said it sounds encouraging. It sounds like, okay, it's a step in the right direction. But I need to see what the next step is first before I have any real judgment on it, because if somebody else pops up in the position with the second name Strachan or Lawwell or something like that, they just spawn out of nowhere, then it isn't the step forward that we're hoping it will be. So balls in Celtic's court regarding that one, or what the next move will be regarding recruitment. But it goes without saying it needs to be a hell of a lot better than the summer. But I'm sure we'll talk about that to death when we get to it. So moving on, say with midfield, say last week, obviously, Cal McGregor's injury. A lot of people were saying that last week highlighted just how vital he's been. I know that, for example, Mark on the show has been very critical of Cal McGregor's form this season, saying that he's been one of the worst culprits and so on. I'm still baffled that McGregor definitely hasn't reached the heights that he can. Has he maybe played too much football in recent years? Because there was a point in time, Liam, where he played like more football in one calendar year than anybody else in all of Europe. And it's like, eventually that's going to catch up to him, surely. But the thing that baffles me more is, well, the guy who's the manager now is somebody who you could argue, I know Ronnie Deila gave him his break, but the Callum McGregor that we know now really started to come to the fore under Brendan Rodgers' first time around. So again, it's like, whatever you're doing the first time, Brendan, why don't you do that again with him? But yeah, what do you feel about last week with his injury at the moment? And is he one of the, what he did last week, really highlight to you that actually McGregor hasn't been that bad this season? He's actually so vital to the team. Or again, were you thinking even if McGregor had played last week, would it have made a difference?
The difference, I think, between him and Rodgers' team, Roger had veterans on that team that would support Cal. There was a lot of big personalities on that team, guys like Michael Lustig and Scott Brown, and all the people that had been at the club for ages and achieved success. he doesn't have that now. And I think when he's gone as well, you know, we've got a very international team now where English is a second language. And so, you know, other than Joe Hart and O'Reilly and, you know, I think Greg Taylor, I mean, anybody else's English is a first language in that as well. So you take McGregor out of that mix and, you know, I'm sure he's the one that's got everybody's tuned in to hear, you know, his position and his management as a captain. I don't know. David Kelly had a post earlier on that this team's been like it's mismanagement of Lagerbielke and that, and I totally agree as well. I think this whole team's been mismanaged as well. I think to put that much pressure on Callum, you know, especially when he's playing, like you can't drop him and that. And I agree with Mark. He's been a shadow of himself this year, and yet you know he's got it because he showed up for Scotland and he showed up for the 2 games against Rangers, and that shows it. But that tells me there's something. That was personal pride. That shows me there's something wrong with the management of the team, with the training of the team. You know, Brendan Rodgers, I feel he's lost without Chris Davies. I think there just seems to be that, and I think the support staff that he inherited, we've just tuned ourselves right back to that COVID vibration, where it's just like, well, let's throw so and so on. You know, that whole thing of, you know, back to Gavin's iPad and John Kennedy looking baffled. You know, it's like, what do we do next? You know, and I feel that that's right there. And I think the midfield, the fact that Callum's not there, we don't have an answer to that. We couldn't find the best players to play with Callum. We can't find the players to replace him right now. And putting all that pressure on David Kelly right now, I don't know, that's a gamble. That's a gamble. You don't know how that boy's going to perform. We don't see him in training. We don't know much about him other than what we've seen. Looked okay, but against Hearts, he wasn't going to be the player that's going to turn that game around. In fact, I had no confidence in anybody in that team being able to turn the game around. Everybody looked like they were defeated, and it's like, oh, well, we'll get 10 men. What can we do? You know, so I don't agree with Terry last week on that one. He's either, well, you got to give this one a pass. No, I've seen 10 men beat them before. We've got 10 players. I know Hearts is a good team, but we've done it before, and we'll do it again with Celtic. You know, so I think when you play stronger. I've seen us having a really difficult time against 10-men teams, where it's been hard to put them down, where it took us ages and all that. So this sort of thing that, oh, well, what can we do? It was all stacked against us. No, we had plenty of opportunities to win that game and for somebody to stand up and be a leader. And there was no leadership on the park. I'd like to see Odin Holmes come in for no other reason than entertain me.
Yeah. Well, I don't think Odin's too much of a departure from, you know, I think if Daniel Kelly, and don't get me wrong, I've generally got a bit of hope that Daniel Kelly, I think there's something there with him, but not a guy that you'd be starting regular right now. But I think the fact that since the January break, since we came back, we played Bucky Thistle in that cup game, and of course he was in the squad there and he came on that day. But of course it's against Bucky Thistle, so you're thinking, like, he's just given some token minutes to some of the B team players. He'll probably now disappear into the B team abyss again. But Daniel Kelly has been consistently in every single match day squad since, on the bench and whatnot. So he's been kept around, and I feel like there might be something there, but he needs to be managed correctly. And but yeah, Odin Home, it's a boy that we paid what, 2.5 million for. Well, that's kind of the going rate for Celtic these days. But also we brought him in last summer, and yeah, he's not really. We've always seen enough of him really to make a judgment at the moment. So would it be too much of a risk to play him? I don't think it would be that bad. You know, I think we still have O'Reilly playing, and Water, I think, will still keep his place at the moment, because I think when it comes to having that holding midfielder, a guy sitting in front of the back line, I think Awata is the best candidate for the job at the moment with the injuries that we've got. So I think that he's a fair shout to keep his place just now, despite, I say, last week, you know, dwelling on the ball and whatnot. So I would go with, you know, nothing too risky in the midfield. Because again, you know, Livingston are going to, no, at the end of the day, they're going to come and try. They can't sit and play for a 0-0 because, as far as I know, there's no replays in the Scottish Cup. It's basically extra time and penalties. So this isn't, they can't come and sit and play for a point. So they're going to have to open up at some point. I mean, are they going to try and play it for a 0-0 draw and try and get a penalty shootout and try and win it that way? So, Livingston can't just sit with 10 men behind the ball. So hopefully we can get somebody in the midfield that can open them up a wee bit from time to time and, stretch them a wee bit. Because, actually with Martindale and his style of football, it's not going to be glittering, is it, to watch? Let's be honest. But yeah, that's in terms of the midfield or the forwards, the wide players, one of the most difficult players. Liam, what do you make of this lad that's absolutely pulling up trees down in England just now? One Michael Johnson, I believe his name is. Apparently he's doing really well at West Brom. Where was this player when he was at Celtic? Because I've seen that he's been on a rich vein of form since leaving. Maybe it's just a case of the pressure of playing for Celtic was just too much, but he's looking good playing for West Brom. I'm not advocating that he is the answer next season. I'm very much in the camp, folks, that Michael Jordan's had his chance. He's had many chances under many different managers. And I think it speaks volumes. I mean, even the great Ange Postecoglou that nobody would dare criticise, even he loaned him out as well. Neil Lennon, obviously, gave him some chances here and there. And of course, we got the infamous F off gift from Neil Lennon, that one. But there was that season under Lenny where it looked like Johnson was really going to kick on with the way he started that season. And then again, injuries mount up. So lots of loan deals, keeps coming back to the club. I mean, I think in an ideal world, he would have probably been punted last summer anyway. But again, just the way the club has been badly mismanaged in terms of like recruitment and whatnot, we found ourselves in a position during this season where so many injuries right now. Mikey Johnson's going to have to get a game. Obviously, he's away back on loan. So fair play to the lad. He's doing well down in England. But for me, he's not the answer long term. Hopefully, he plays well for West Brom to then say, we'll pay for him in the summer. They can take him. And we don't have to go down that route again. But of course, with the wingers that we're left with, Liam, I say, it was just so Abada's away. Mikey Johnson's playing brilliant away from the club now. And we're left with Kuhn, who we still don't really know what we've signed for that one. It seems like he's an invisible player every week, an empty jersey. Palmer, who has just been so hot and cold.
He's injured.
He's injured now. Oh, there you go. He ain't getting no game then.
Aye.
Maeda, of course, who's Maeda. You don't know what if Maeda doesn't know what he's going to do next, then we don't know what he's going to do next. He's so unpredictable. He is capable of some amazing stuff, but then, like the goal he scored against Dundee was a fantastic finish, unbelievable. Then he spent the rest of the game mostly like tripping over the ball and doing the usual Maeda stuff, and it's like, well, that's what you get with Maeda. You do. You can be capable of something unbelievable 1 minute. Like remember last season, the game at Easter Road where we beat them pretty convincingly. And he missed like a header right on the line. Like he had an empty net. And then about 2 minutes later, he picked up the ball for the halfway line, ran down the left wing, cut inside on his right foot and bent it into the top corner. And that was like 2 minutes after he missed a sitter. So it's like the duality of man when it comes to Dyson Maeda. You get one extreme and then you get the other. So if he plays, who knows what we're going to get there. And it's just with the wingers positions at the moment, it's just like, what do you do? And again, I think you suggested it the other week, Liam. Maybe it's time that we played a formation that doesn't have wingers. Maybe that's an idea.
Aye. I'd go with the two Japanese boys only because the guy that created Dragon Ball Z died yesterday. And I think this is a tribute to more than that, go Super Saiyan on these living bastards. Get Kyogo, get Maeda. I don't know. Do we see Rocco Vata this weekend, Phil? Because we're definitely going through the lines. It's like, is that number came out the tumbler this week? Rocco Vata.
Rocco Vata, aye. The weird thing with Vata is I just feel like when he came on against Bucky, obviously, and again, much like Daniel Kelly did. And it's like, are we trying to just give him some token minutes now? Because that was when the whole, is he going to sign a new contract was going on. It seems like obviously he's knocked that back and he's still been in match day squads since then. But again, if he's substitution appearance here and there, I don't know, man. I mean, at this stage, is it too much a risk to play him at this stage? I don't know. Or is he checked out? Is it a bit like the Abada situation where he's kind of sort of checked out a wee bit if he's decided that he's no staying?
Yeah,
I don't know.
He might have the Mikey Johnson thing as well too, where for some reason he can do it. He just can't do it in Glasgow. Some people get too comfortable. You know, you need to move away. You hear that, you're seeing that with Lewis Ferguson, you know, moving away from Scotland, moving away from all your comfort and all that, so that, oh shit, I'm a professional football player. That's what I do. It's no meeting up with my pals. And, you know, maybe Mikey Johnson was addicted to Iron Brew in the Blue Lagoon and just needed to get away from all that, you know.
Maybe.
So who knows what Rocco Vat is. You know, he might as well have to leave to become a better player because he just can't take it with his pals watching, his family's watching, or the pressure, whatever it is of playing football in the city you grew up in. You know, some people just can't do it. You know, imposter syndrome, whatever it is, you know, or just being too big-headed. Who knows? But I think we need to do something different more. Two up front, I think, would be the best way to do it. At some point, I want maybe Kyogo and O, or Kyogo and Ida. I mean, O's went to Korea. I don't know how well he played, but, you know, he was in that squad and stuff. And, you know, and he's come back and he's barely had a look in as well. Know that he's the answer, but Christ's sake, we're running out of answers. You know?
Yeah, we really are. So time is of the essence. The sands of time are just dripping away now. So, yeah, we're now in a position where it really is win or bust, to do or die now from the end of the season. So, with that being said, I mean, for me, I know Ida missed the penalty last week. So that little fever dream that we had for a few weeks there, where we had a consistent penalty taker, that's now up in smoke as well. That's another one. So what happens now? Do we just keep rotating it? Does somebody else get a shot now? Who knows? We'll find out the next time we get a penalty, because apparently we get more penalties than anybody in the country. Who knew? We're so rubbish at them. That's why it never registers with you that we do get a lot of penalties, because we're so unbelievably crap at them. And yes, this continues now, but we'll see. But I would still keep Ida in the team because, again, if you look at, last time we played Livingston at Celtic Park, I said this to my mate sitting next to me. We were looking at their squad, like they're bringing on their subs or whatever, and they had a very certain profile of a type of player, usually a big bruiser of some kind. There's a very high concentration of big physical players in Livingston's team, so we definitely need somebody who can rough them up a wee bit, because they certainly so that's really all they've got. Hammer thrower, I believe, is the term that you would use for it. A good hammer thrower. I think Ida can stand up to this. We've seen a few good headed goals by him since he's been here. You know, just get across into the box, play to his strengths. The guy's 6'3", gets on the end of it and puts it away. So might need to see a bit of that this coming Sunday. But rather than ask for a specific scoreline, Liam, before we finish, just quite simply a question, because it's a cup game: will Celtic be in the draw for the semi-finals of the Scottish Cup come close of play on Sunday, Liam? Yes or no?
Yes.
I think yes as well. Chat, before we go, what you saying? You can put a score prediction if you want, or quite simply, will Celtic be in the draw for the semi-finals of the Scottish Cup come close of play Sunday? And I say Sunday, 2:00, 2:30, whatever it is, via play. Say cheers for that. You know, this bloody via play. Honest to God. Sunday kickoffs at Celtic Park, I can tell you as a season ticket holder for many years now, are just... they are grim. I can understand when you've had a Thursday night game and, you know, the game gets moved to a Sunday. I get it, but man, so annoying. 2:30 on a Sunday, stinking. But then again, I believe our noisy neighbours have got an even worse kickoff time. They're away at Easter Road, and is it not like 5:30 or something they're kicking off on Sunday? It's definitely just after us anyway, because both games are live on Viaplay. So they've got an even worse kickoff time. But hey, that's their problem and no ours.
I can see them losing.
Oh, a wee extra prediction thrown in there by the wise man. Oh,
aye.
Famous last words, Liam. I mean, we'll see. Hopefully. But yeah, obviously we need to worry about ours first. And then, we get back to league action next week against St Johnstone, I believe, at Celtic Park. And I believe there's also an international break coming up as well, which is just what we need. I believe Scotland have got games against the Netherlands and Northern Ireland coming up as well. So we've got that to disrupt us in March as well. And then we've got Livy again at Almondvale at the end of the month. And then it's the trip to Ibrox. So let's see what comes. Some of the folk are saying. Tommy Twist says 3-0 Hoops. Chill Pills throwing in a wee mon the Hibbies as well. There we go. Brian McGarry 3-1. Kyogo 2-1. Okay. Danish says Celtic 4, Livingston 2. Pat was saying Celtic 2-0 Scales to score. He did score the last time we played Livingston. A header at a corner. Can you believe it? We actually scored a header at a corner that day. Smell the Gloves going for a very conservative 1-0. Oh, God, that could be a long day on a Sunday. 2:30 kickoff at Celtic Park. And I'll bet it rains, I know. Joe Henry saying 3-1. Monty, wow, 8-0 Celtic. Wow, I mean... Well, we put 7 past Dundee the other week, so we've clearly got it in us to rout a team. But, hey, you'd never know. And Chill Paul's also saying 2-0 to Celtic as well.
When did they legalise hard drugs in Scotland? My God, 8-0.
Hey, here's David Kelly saying 9-0. There we go. Yeah.
Hat-trick.
Hat-trick indeed. So, yeah, we'll head off, guys. That's been an hour. It's been another good Friday feeling episode. Another one done and dusted. Myself and Liam are now heading off. So, yeah, as I say, reminder again of the hellish kickoff time. We've got it's Sunday, 2:30. It's live on Viaplay. And, of course, if you go into the game as well, I'll be there for it. Enjoy it. And, hopefully, as I say, Celtic will be there in the semi-final, the last 4 of the competition. Come close of play Sunday. That's all that matters at this stage. Is it just a case of just keep winning, Celtic? Just find a way, just do something to find a way to just keep winning, no matter how ugly it is. Just get it done, boys. Right, we will catch you later, folks, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.